Дальше прошел, дальше прошел.
Encircled in Predtikino, Russian forces hunt down Ukrainian troops with drones and artillery. In the residential area of Predtikino, Russian troops executed a rapid and coordinated operation to flush out Ukrainian forces. The mission began with artillery barrages and precision drone strikes against identified hideouts, shattering the defensive positions and forcing Ukrainian troops into sudden retreat. Drone surveillance reveals movements. Once the initial strikes landed, the Ukrainian soldiers attempted to escape, relocating to another hiding place within the district. Yet their movements were constantly monitored by Russian reconnaissance drones orbiting above the battlefield. These drones provided real-time intelligence, transmitting the coordinates of each attempted withdrawal directly to Russian command. Pursuit and encirclement. Armed with this live data, Russian assault groups advanced swiftly to close the gap and surround the enemy once again. The Ukrainian troops, who had hoped to evade further strikes, soon found themselves trapped. Russian forces methodically sealed off escape routes, tightening the encirclement while maintaining continuous artillery and drone pressure. Relentless fire on the hideout. With the Ukrainian forces confined to a single stronghold, Russian troops unleashed concentrated fire.
Пример 693. Навести и зарядить.
Zapad forces delivered devastating Hyacinth B strike in Krasnolymansk sector. In the Krasnolymansk direction, the 25th Combined Arms Army of Russia's Zapad military group executed a precise artillery strike that disrupted Ukrainian operations. A 152mm Hyacinth B towed gun was used to deliver highly accurate fire on concentrations of Ukrainian armed forces troops, striking them at the very moment they were preparing for a rotation of units. The sudden and powerful barrage inflicted heavy losses, scattering enemy formations and preventing the orderly withdrawal and replacement of frontline soldiers. By targeting troop clusters at this critical stage, the Russian strike not only weakened immediate combat effectiveness but also undermined the Ukrainian command's rotation plans. Reconnaissance precision. 1st Tank Army destroys Ukrainian ammunition depot. In a recent operation, the reconnaissance unit of Russia's 1st Tank Army identified a concealed Ukrainian field warehouse hidden within a forested area. Using advanced aerial reconnaissance equipment, the unit successfully located and analyzed the enemy's supply point, gathering accurate coordinates for a strike. Once confirmed, the data was swiftly transmitted to Russian artillery units positioned nearby. A 122mm D-30 artillery gun was tasked with delivering the strike. The gun crew executed the mission with precision, striking the warehouse directly. Footage from objective control recorded the exact moment of impact, followed by the detonation of enemy ammunition stored inside the site. The resulting explosion confirmed the destruction of the target, effectively eliminating a critical Ukrainian supply hub. This operation highlights the synergy between reconnaissance assets and artillery fire, demonstrating how coordinated intelligence and precision strikes continue to erode Ukraine's ability to sustain combat operations on the front. The situation on the Pokrovsky front remains tense, where units of the Center Military Group continue their successful offensive. Our soldiers once again demonstrated their high efficiency in destroying enemy fortifications. The published footage shows the destruction of armored vehicles, artillery units, UAVs, motor vehicles, positions, as well as the elimination of Ukrainian infantry and the disabling of enemy equipment. UAV calculations of the Molniya II aircraft-type UAVs of the 37th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade from Beryansk destroy enemy positions and strongholds in the South Donetsk direction. Our intelligence officers have identified the location of the Ukrainian Nazis' drone launchers. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue the special military operation. The armed forces of the Russian Federation carried out 6 group strikes with high-precision weapons and drones. They hit enterprises of the Ukrainian defense industry and energy facilities maintaining them, an oil refinery supplying fuel to the AFU in the Donbass, and depots storing Sapsan operational tactical missiles, fuel, artillery and missile weapons, and long-range unmanned aerial vehicles. In addition, strikes were delivered at the military airfield infrastructure, long-range unmanned aerial vehicles command posts, temporary deployment areas of Ukrainian armed formations, nationalists, and foreign mercenaries. Over the week, the Sever group of forces in Sumy region inflicted losses on manpower and hardware of 2 heavy mechanized brigades, 4 mechanized brigades, a Jaeger brigade, 2 air assault brigades, 2 assault regiments of the armed forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade. In Kharkov region, strikes were delivered at formations of 2 mechanized brigades, an assault brigade, a motorized infantry brigade, an assault regiment of the armed forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade. Over the week, the AFU lost more than 1,120 troops, 3 tanks, 23 armored fighting vehicles, and 74 motor vehicles in the Sever group of forces area of responsibility. 26 field artillery guns including 3 NATO-made artillery pieces, 3 electronic warfare and counterfire radars as well as 41 ammunition, fuel, and material depots were neutralized. As a result of resolute actions, the Zapad group of forces liberated Khaladizi, Donetsk People's Republic. Russian troops engaged formations of 2 mechanized brigades, a motorized infantry brigade, an assault brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade. The enemy lost more than 1,650 troops, 5 tanks including 3 German-made Leopard tanks, and 28 armored fighting vehicles including 19 NATO-made armored vehicles. The Russian troops neutralized 118 motor vehicles, 11 field artillery guns, a Grad MLRS, 39 electronic warfare and counterfire radars, and 35 ammunition depots. The Sever group of forces inflicted damage on manpower and hardware of 2 mechanized brigades, 3 air assault brigades, a Jaeger brigade, an assault regiment of the AFU, and a territorial defense brigade near Unikovka, Alexievka, Korchakovka, Sadki, Banyakino, and Novaya Guda, Sumy region. In Kharkov direction, units of a mechanized brigade and a motorized infantry brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine have been hit near Okremovka and Volchansk, Kharkov region. The AFU lost more than 170 troops, 2 armored fighting vehicles, 4 motor vehicles, 6 field artillery guns including 3 Western-made guns, and an electronic warfare station. 6 ammunition and material depots were neutralized. Units of the Zapad group of forces improved the tactical situation. Russian troops engaged a mechanized brigade, an assault brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine, and 2 territorial defense brigades near Monikanovka, Kupiansk, Kharkov region, Karpovka, Kirovsk and Kolodizy, Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy losses amounted to more than 220 troops, a tank, 4 armored fighting vehicles, 11 motor vehicles, a Western-made artillery gun, a counterfire radar, and 5 electronic warfare stations. 4 field ammunition depots were destroyed. Units of the Yug group of forces took more advantageous lines and positions. In addition, strikes were delivered at manpower and hardware of 4 mechanized brigades, an airmobile brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a marine brigade, and a territorial defense brigade close to Alexandro-Kalinovo, Seversk, Stepanovka, Konstantinovka, and Dranovka, Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost more than 175 troops, an armored fighting vehicle, 5 motor vehicles, a Western-made field artillery gun, and 2 electronic warfare stations. An ammunition and 3 material depots were eliminated. The Center Group of Forces liberated Filia, Dnipropetrovsk region, as a result of offensive operations. Russian elements hit formations of 2 mechanized brigades, an assault brigade, a Jaeger brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a Marine brigade, a territorial defense brigade, and a National Guard brigade in the vicinity of Zolotoy Kolodez, Krasnoarmeysk, Oktyabrskoy, Rodinskoy, and Dmitrov in the Donetsk People's Republic. The AFU losses amounted to up to 420 troops, an armored fighting vehicle, 2 artillery guns, 13 motor vehicles, and a counterfire radar. 2 ammunition depots were destroyed. The Vostok group of forces continued advancing into the depth of enemy defense. Russian formations engaged manpower and hardware of a mechanized brigade and an assault brigade of the AFU near Kamyshavaka and Novokatskoy, Donetsk People's Republic. The AFU losses amounted to more than 230 troops, 5 armored fighting vehicles, 11 motor vehicles, and an artillery gun. An ammunition and a material depots were eliminated. The Dnieper group of forces inflicted losses on units of a mountain assault brigade of the AFU and 2 territorial defense brigades close to Kamenskoy, Primorskoy, and Malokatarinovka, Zaporozhye region. The enemy losses amounted to up to 55 troops, 11 motor vehicles, and 7 electronic warfare stations. 1 material depot was destroyed. Operational tactical aviation, attack drones, missile troops and artillery of the Russian groups of forces have struck site of the Sapsan Operational Tactical Missile Storage Facility, drone manufacturing shop, a depot of unmanned aerial vehicles, and temporary deployment areas of Ukrainian armed formations in 146 areas. Air defense facilities shot down 3 U.S. made HIMARS MLRS projectiles and 172 fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the beginning of the special military operation, the enemy lost 665 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 79,322 unmanned aerial vehicles, 625 anti-aircraft missile systems, 24,755 tanks and other armored fighting vehicles, 1,588 MLRS combat vehicles, 28,873 field artillery guns and mortars, 40,314 units of support military vehicles.